On today's show, how exactly China is completely destroying America's future by the cruelest of all methods, doing things better. Disgusting. Also, the completely hidden, not so hidden, but never talked about, but kind of mumbled, but totally true, secret truth about the October 7th attacks. Shh, don't tell nobody. All that and more on today's show. Let's go. Let's do it. Go ahead. Play the intro. Play the content. Welcome to Unredacted Tonight. I'm Lee Camp, the most censored comedian in America. OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT, its arrival was incredible, earth-shattering. It very well could change the whole planet. The U.S. tech sector is back on top, baby. We own the world. Or we did for about a few months there. Now, China has come out with an AI that is better, faster, cheaper, and able to figure out how many R's are in the word strawberry. You ask that of ChatGPT and it short circuits harder than Circuit City. By now, you've all heard of the new AI, DeepSeek, which apparently costs about 3% of what ChatGPT does to use. Plus, DeepSeek is open source, meaning anyone around the world can use and improve on it. You have billions of brains all working together, as opposed to 100 incels living in a bunker with a foosball table in San Francisco. Not sure why I'm so angry about the foosball. OpenAI, despite the name, is not open source. So the open means what exactly? It's just really open with its feelings? I will say one time I asked ChatGPT to give me a recipe for lemon meringue pie, and it told me that its mother used to make amazing meringue pie before she passed. So it weeps every time it has a piece. Its mother is an oven. The Chinese AI company DeepSeek has made waves by matching the abilities of cutting-edge chatbots while using a fraction of the specialized computer chips that leading AI companies rely on. The kicker is that DeepSeek created and released its entirely open-source project for about $6 million in training costs. OpenAI is spending hundreds of millions of dollars. Actually, it's now spending billions. DeepSeek is the equivalent of a kid using his elementary school chemistry set to make a nuclear reactor. I, on the other hand, was the kid using his school chemistry set to make various substances in the shape of penises. Getting patents on those was difficult. DeepSeek only spent $6 million to train their systems? Elon Musk spent $250 million on electing and training Donald Trump to be more obedient than his service labradoodle so he can pump out swastikars to his suburban swacker moms. It's also appropriate that Musk has a rocket company called SpaceX, seeing as the U.S. used former Nazi scientists to help us get to the moon. It's true. For a good time, look up Operation Paperclip. Not on your office computer. So how has the American government responded to being lapped by China for 1/100th of the cost? Of course, they said, let's partner with China, work together, make the best technology, and cooperate to make sure we have a safe and beneficial future for all humankind. I was kidding. No, they're threatening to punish Americans who download DeepSeek with a $1 million fine and 20 years in prison. That's the open market for you. The best product wins. Or we make it more illegal than selling grenade launchers wrapped in classified documents to 6-year-olds. And here's the thing. This is just one of many areas where China is making the U.S. look like Ja Rule to their Tupac Shakur. The U.S. is basically a big fire fest these days. It's just $2,000 bologna sandwiches. Recently, China's artificial sun shattered the nuclear fusion record by generating a steady loop of plasma for 1,000 seconds. A plasma loop? What the hell does that mean? That has something to do with, I'm gonna go X-Men member Phoenix. No, Cyclops! Cyclops, final answer! Nuclear fusion reactors generate energy in a similar way to the sun, by fusing two light atoms into a single heavy atom via heat and pressure. Granted, humans are a long way from actual fusion energy, but China's a lot closer than the US is. Then there's China's bullet trains, which go up to 200 miles per hour. If we had those in the US, we could go from New York City to Washington, D.C. in 1 hour, which is the time it takes the cafe car on an Amtrak to serve 2 whole customers. As it stands now, Amtrak can't get past a dead squirrel on the tracks in 1 hour, but the squirrel would have wanted it that way. With a bullet train, Washington, D.C. would be a suburb of New York City, if only we were as advanced as China. That's right, you could spend your day in one of the greatest cities in the world and then just zip home to your cozy bed in the nation's anus. Living the dream. China is also beating the US with better, more efficient, cheaper electric cars, EVs. Even the Atlantic said so, and the Atlantic is such a cuck to US empire, they still think Russiagate is real. No, like legit, they do. Reading the Atlantic is like talking to a 29-year-old who still believes in Santa. I don't know how to interact with that. By the way, if you're a 6-year-old just heard me say that, I meant still believe in Santa's ability to dunk a basketball. He can't do it. He's gravitationally challenged. Doesn't even get close. Anyway, even the Atlantic says America is missing out on the best electric cars because they're almost all made in China. They're more efficient, often better made, and way cheaper. In fact, the cheapest one costs $1,200. The car is literally cheaper than the shipping cost to get one. I'm not kidding. Yes, it's small. Yes, its battery has a max distance of 27 miles. But did I mention it costs $1,200? I've had prostitutes more expensive than that. Before you cancel me, I meant male prostitutes. And before you judge me, I did mean female prostitutes. But before you judge me for being homophobic, I did mean male prostitutes. But I'm not religious, and I've successfully broken my social engineering, so I don't view sex as much different than a massage or a eyebrow threading, except more fun. Sure, you can make it emotional, but you can make trimming someone's mustache emotional. In fact, a pedicure is way more gross and intimate than sex. Paying a stranger to rub your feet? That shit should be illegal, man. Anyway, China also has cheaper, more efficient solar panels and batteries than the US. In fact, China is creating a solar Great Wall, an array of solar panels in the Kabuki Desert in Inner Mongolia. How large is it? 250 miles. Sorry, read that wrong. 250 fucking miles. When completed, it will power almost 30 million homes. In the US, to power 30 million homes with green energy, we'd have to harness our hatred of China. It is possible, but you'd have to stick the charger pretty deep up the old, never mind. China has also come out with the first completely automated highway paving system. That's right, recently they resurfaced 158 kilometers of highway using only robots and drones. Wow! It seems like the only time the US paves anything now is if it's an endangered species. You ever heard of a black-tailed doublecorn? That's because the last one is under I-95. In some rural areas of the US, they are actually unpaving roads because they can't afford to fix them. We're going backwards. Why stop with dirt roads? We should go back to the horse and buggies, right? Those horses need jobs. Equine unemployment is the worse than it was during the Great Depression. Hell, things could really come full circle. Maybe the U.S. will soon be using rickshaws to get around. They could be modern rickshaws, all right, with USB jacks and cup holders and shit. We're not cavemen. So what has our government done to deal with the fact that China is beating the US at most things? Well, they're trying to make it as hard as possible for Americans to get that stuff. Threatening people who download DeepSeek, forcing TikTok to be sold, nearly banning Chinese electric cars. That should do it. Just knock things out of Americans' hands and go, no, you go back to your slow-ass expensive stuff, and you like it, young man. And no, this didn't start with Donald Trump. Back in September, Biden instituted huge China tariff hikes, including for EVs, batteries, and solar panels. The tariff on electric cars is 100%, and Trump is, of course, keeping those in place. Look, this makes perfect sense. It fits with the American motto. We may not be the best. We may not be the most efficient. We may not be the most state-of-the-art, but gosh darn it, we can stop our citizens from seeing those things very much. America, most of us have no idea how much it sucks here. God bless. Look, American hegemony is collapsing. Rather than realize we need to work together, we need to cooperate, advance as one group called humanity, our greedy-ass rulers simply block, ban, insult, malign, and whine. Every time you fall for the xenophobic, simple-minded China, bad, Venezuela, bad, Cuba, very bad, you are feeding right into the hands of our feudal overlords with underbellies. We can break this cycle by uniting the 99% around the world. We all have way more in common with a worker in China or Russia or Spain than we have with a billionaire in the US. Folks, let's talk for a moment about the kerfuffle in Gaza. I was calling it a genocide, but then I noticed that the mainstream media never does that, and we all know they are our betters. They tell us how to think, who to be, which oligarchs arse to lovingly tongue-bathe. I call them my lodestar because they are so full of shit they've dropped a load the size of a star. But I will follow their guidance in this case and call what's been going on in Gaza, at worst, fisticuffs. Anyway, we all know that this kerfuffle started when Hamas broke into Israel and killed 1,200 Israelis on October 7th, 2023. Much like Kendrick Lamar, that is undeniable. Here's 1 month ago from NBC.
This latest conflict began on October 7th when Hamas massacred 1,200 people in Israel.
But much like Kiss's farewell tour in the year 2000, we're not done yet. Just the other day, Reuters stated a Hamas-led attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023 that killed at least 1,200 people. NPR stated recently, 12 months ago, fighters from Hamas killed around 1,200 people. The New York Times recently said Hamas invaded southern Israel, killing roughly 1,200 people. And Yoav Gallant, who was Israel's defense minister at the time of the attack, said just a few weeks ago Israeli troops were ordered to shoot and kill captive Israeli civilians on October 7th, 2023. Wait, what was that? Israeli troops killed a bunch of Israelis? This seems to be a reference to the Hannibal directive, which is the Israeli military's sometimes policy of just killing everyone around, because that's the best play when you're upset about something. Just murder everybody. I often use it when I'm forced to post something on Instagram. Can we agree that's a shit platform? Can't make a video full screen on your laptop. Can't fast forward. Everything's disappearing left and right. Is this just me? Back to Israel. We all know the Hannibal directive doesn't exist. The order to carry out Israel's so-called Hannibal directive was issued tactically and in various places next to Gaza. Yoav Gallant told Israel's Channel 12, or apparently it does, according to the defense minister. That was my other guess. I had a 50-50 chance on that. But it's fine, because the plan to kill everyone was issued tactically. Just like every time I use my sledgehammer to kill an ant on my glass living room table, I do it tactically, with precision. Besides, what would the defense minister know about such things? If this were true, it goes against everything the media has been saying for 17 months. Well, not all the media, not Israeli media. Here's from Haaretz. IDF ordered Hannibal directive on October 7th to prevent Hamas taking soldiers captive. So the Israeli military was killing a bunch of Israelis on October 7th. That 1,200 number that we've heard repeated endlessly for almost 18 months includes loads of people killed by Israel? Nah, We need to get an official trusted body like the UN or Ariana Grande's fan club to look into this. What's that they have? Ariana looked into? Oh, the UN. That makes more sense. The report by the UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry documented repeated uses of the so-called Hannibal directive on October 7th as Israel was combating Hamas fighters. Well, what do they know? They're just the UN, which we all know stands for unreliable. Came up with that myself. Besides, the IDF might have killed a few Israelis, but it wasn't that many. I mean, what's that? Well, put it on the screen, Gary. Don't wait for me to ask for it. Just put it up. A new investigative article by two journalists with extensive sources inside Israel's military and intelligence establishment revealed that some 70 vehicles driven by Palestinian fighters returning to Gaza were blown up by Israeli helicopter gunships, drones, or tanks. 70 vehicles blown up? That sounds like it probably would have killed a lot of Israeli hostages and bystanders. Even if it were just 2 or 3 per vehicle, that's hundreds. It can't be that many cars, or we would have seen piles of them. It would have looked like a monster truck rally. There's no, holy shit, that's a ton of blown up cars. Why haven't I seen those before? Why aren't there tours being given of the wreckage? Why isn't there a lot of reporting on this? Israel admitted they shredded and buried hundreds of cars filled with evidence? Why in God's name would you, in order to save space and be as environmentally friendly as possible? Environmentally friendly? Yes, that is so Israel. When you look at a photo of Gaza, you think they're trying to be eco-friendly. Israel's the Greta Thunberg of ethnic cleansing. So let me get this straight. Israel has admitted they killed loads of their own people on October 7th, and they've admitted to destroying and burying all the evidence because they care about the environment. Oh, it's like the mafia always bury their victims in undisclosed locations in order to help the foliage grow. We can't forget the Gotti horticulture family. That's what they meant by pushing up the daisies. I always thought it had to do with push-ups. I didn't like exercising. No, it never made any sense to me. Okay, back up here. If a mass Hannibal directive were true, there'd be witness testimony from someone who survived. Oh, okay, here it is. The key testimony of Yasmin Porat, an Israeli woman who survived a massacre by Israeli forces at Kibbutz Be'eri. According to her account, many Israeli civilians were killed when Israeli forces opened fire with heavy weapons, including tank shells, at the small kibbutz house they were held by Palestinian fighters. Opened fire on a kibbutz house? I doubt it. I wouldn't believe that unless I saw the tank operators themselves admitting it on camera.
The soldier points and tells me, "Shoot there, the terrorists are there." I ask him, "Are there civilians there?" He says, "I don't know, just shoot." I decide not to shoot. This is an Israeli community. I fire with my machine gun at a house.
She was told to fire tank shells at innocent Israelis, but took the high road and just shot her machine gun at them? And she's proud of it? Okay. Maybe this was a rare incident. Maybe this one tank gunner went nuts, and this only happened this one time on October 7th. If it happened a lot, we would hear the IDF fire thousands of bullets and bombs and stuff. What's this? Gary, don't just put it up on the screen. Warn me first. Data revealed here for the first time shows that during the fighting on October 7th, the Air Force fired 11,000 rounds, dropping more than 500 heavy one-ton bombs and launched 180 missiles. 500 one-ton bombs? 180 missiles? Let me guess, these were tactical, precision-guided one-ton bombs. Those numbers don't make any sense. To achieve those numbers, you'd have to just be shooting at everything. What's this? Shoot at everything, one squadron leader reportedly told his men. Oh, I should have checked which quote was up next there before So, Israel killed hundreds of their own people on October 7th under the Hannibal directive. So that 1,200 number could actually be 800 killed by Hamas, 400 by Israel, or 600 and 600, or worse. Why haven't any journalists asked Biden or Trump or Antony Blinken about this? Oh, right, I remember.
Do you know about the Hannibal directive? Miller says he doesn't know about the Hannibal directive. Do you know about the Hannibal directive?
Again, I'm happy to address questions.
No, I want him to answer my question. Criminal! Why aren't you in The Hague? Why aren't you in The Hague?
You know, you normally have to be a reporter for the New York Times or the Washington Post to get carried in and out of the State Department press room. That was nice of them. So I guess not only will the revolution not be televised, but neither will real questions. Okay, I've got one more real question that I'm sure Gary has an answer for. Israel shredded and buried the cars. If this had really happened, there would still be surveillance footage showing the behavior of the IDF, showing what exactly happened. Critical IDF surveillance videos from Hamas's attack on October 7th are missing. Oh, now you're just being a smartass, Gary. But what do you expect? I mean, if you're going to kill hundreds of your own citizens, totally got to wipe the cameras. Learned that from Ocean's 11. Or Might Have Been My Best Friend's Wedding. Not the movie, My Best Friend's Wedding. That was a rager. It was. Only thing better I've ever been to, Kiss's 2023 farewell tour. That was epic. There is no other band that can sustain 23 years of farewell tours. And they did it with only 3 songs. It's incredible. Anyway, all told, there are mountains of evidence showing the IDF killed a ridiculous number of their own citizens on October 7th. And yet our rotting raccoon carcass of Western media faithfully repeats the lie every day to this day. 1,200 people killed by Hamas. It's unbelievable. It's almost like they don't mind lying at all. It's almost like it's their job. And my apologies to rotting raccoon carcasses. That wasn't fair to compare you to our media. I see you. I appreciate you. And finally, these are your headlines from the future. Coming up in March, we'll learn Oklahoma meteorologists announce fire rain shooting upwards towards floating icicles. Nothing to worry about. And in 2 weeks, this will be in the news, Trump baffles, angers 92% of Americans by bringing peace to several countries. Coming up in 3 days, you'll learn Senate doesn't recall confirming drunk, diseased brown bear for Secretary of Agriculture, but stands by the decision. And finally, next Tuesday, you'll read, after Proud Boys lose trademark in court battle, members wonder if they get to go back to masturbating now. That's the show. If you want to see Unredacted Tonight continue, please become a supporting member at patreon.com/LeeCamp or my locals page at leecamp.net. I can't do it without you. I'll see you next week. And don't forget to tell your friends about the show. The revolution will have laughter. Keep fighting.